Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the wacky game we call the Seance at the Whitney. For those of you who are wondering, this turret room up here is where the ghost bar lives. Just in case you wanted a frame of reference. It has nice windows. They're very large. On this side, they have windows that open, and these windows up here open as well. Just, letting you know. Tonight's schedule, we're going to try to keep really close to an hour. And since February 14th has come and gone, I hope you all enjoyed your hugs and loves and chocolates. And Amy Kelso, I just love you more every day. Just saying that in public now.
Okay.
So this is the Seance at the Whitney, an interactive indie author virtual book festival where we feature author readings in an interactive improv mystery game and book giveaways every night. These are our awesome authors. Please check them out. Find their books. They're amazing. Just because they're reading something on the program doesn't necessarily mean that's all they write. So you want to check out their catalogs, look up all the wonderful things they write, not just the ones that they've read, although, the ones that they've read. Tonight, speaking of readings, we have two amazing authors reading for you tonight. Lisa Tchaikovsky comes to us all the way from New Jersey, and she's going to be reading Spooky Ooky Dance Party, which is a really fun story, especially if you like cats. And Catherine LeBlanc, also, I believe, coming from New York, New Jersey area, right, Catherine?
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. Oh, okay, East Coast. I was close.
East
I was
Coast.
close. Yeah, I was close. She's going to be reading from The Lumberjack for Lorena. It's going to be super fun. We're going to have a great time. I'm really excited. I love it when people read to me because, as everybody knows, I am a recovering 6-year-old. So thank you for indulging me in this. Lisa, if you are ready, please take the microphone and read aloud.
Absolutely. This is my Halloween book, Spooky Ooky Dance Party, and it was actually illustrated by 12 different individuals with autism. So each illustration is a different style. It's our favorite time of year, Halloween. The humans get dressed up in funny costumes. Sometimes they dress us up too. The humans are pretty great. They give me lots of pets, treats, all the cuddles I want, and toys. I have toys everywhere. It's a pretty nice life. I guess I can indulge them once a year by leaving it on a costume they like. I can ride a broomstick and fly, but shh, the silly humans don't know I can fly. That can be our secret for now. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Moon, and I want to tell you all about how me and my animal friends have a Halloween adventure each year on Halloween nights. The humans don't know this, but I actually am a very special kitty. See, I can do things humans can't, like making myself invisible. Well, actually, that specialness I like to use on the humans. Now let's meet my special friends. There's Luna the bat, who has special vision. She can see through anything. Reese the dog can make people do anything he thinks of just by looking at them. He's such a silly puppy and loves to make humans pretend to be animals. Ember the spider, she can make herself any size she wants. She is so fun when it comes to scaring humans. So many are scared of spiders. And Phoenix the raven, she can make anything come to life. She likes to make rocks or a scarecrow come to life. Each year on Halloween night, Phoenix makes this really neat pumpkin come alive that we all meet at. The pumpkin is at a display that the town makes every year starting October 1st at the library. The event has trick-or-treating, a corn maze, lots of spooky, ooky characters, and even some silly characters. There's always lots of food and drinks. We all wait for the event to officially start at sundown. The children begin to come in their costumes to trick or treat. Then we can start to cause mischief with our fun powers. This Halloween, we decided to do something different. I have an idea. This year, there was no DJ music, so I figured, why not make our own? We figured, why not start the party ourselves? Phoenix pointed her beak at the big pumpkin all of a sudden and began to dance. Then the skeleton began to jig. Ember made herself big and began to shake her legs. Next thing we know, the humans are stomping and dancing too. Reese made a human use their phone to turn on some music. We had a party on our hands. Phoenix began to sing to the music. I started to phase in and out and pretend to run around the dancing humans. We caused some mischief, but this year was the most fun yet. At the end of the night, there was candy and costumes all over the place. I think we need to cause mischief year round now since we have a new tradition. Ha ha ha. Until next year, happy spooky ooky Halloween. Thank you.
You know, you
Thank you.
finished that with a little bit of time. I just want you to take one quick minute and tell us about this group of illustrators, just real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. They're from Brainstorm Productions. Thank you guys. They started out as a college, a Center for Unlimited Learning, and they created Brainstorm so the graduates would have a place to work. They started out with animation and then they decided to do illustrations. And it was their idea to do 12 different illustrations, different styles. This is the second book that they did for me that way. They've done 3 books for me, and they're doing 1 more for me this year. They actually have blown up. So now they're too busy to do any more than 1, but I'm so incredibly proud of them. They are moving to their second location in California. They opened up their first one last year, so now they're opening up another one. And they are just so incredibly talented. They're amazing.
They're an amazing pool
This
of
was their
artists.
idea,
They're
the
incredible.
cover.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
right?
really excited you're working with them. Thank you for sharing your
Thank
work
you
and
guys.
theirs with us tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you guys.
We appreciate that. Okay, next we are going to hear from Catherine LeBlanc. She's going to read her a little bit from her story, A Lumberjack for Lorena. Are you ready, Catherine?
I am. This is the book collection.
All right. When you are ready, Catherine, please take the microphone and read aloud.
Okay, so this is my newest sweet historical romance, A Lumberjack for Lorena, and this story is actually loosely based for my sister, whose name is Lorena. The rock was hard at Lorena's knees as she bent over the sheets, rubbing them on the washboard. The fabric was heavy with water, and her hands were red and raw from the cold. Wind blew a flurry of leaves around her. Glorious shades of yellow, russet, and scarlet spun away on the river that tugged downstream. A group of crows cawed nearby. Staring out over the water, she pushed her sweaty black hair from her eyes, ignoring the aching in her arms and spine. The forest was a mix of evergreens and deciduous trees, and some half bare now, the last leaves dropping like pinwheels. Soon there'll be nothing but black skeletons waiting for the snow. This was the last big laundry day before spring. She wiped her brow with her sleeve, glancing up at the darkening sky. I hope the weather holds long enough to dry the sheets. She returned to her scrubbing, sinking into the rhythm, letting her mind drift with the whistles of the wind and chattering of the avian wildlife. So much to do before winter. The list of chores spiraled through her head, making her stomach lurch. I'm prepared every year. Why does it always make me worry? The fruit was bottled, the pickling was done, and she'd already made the jams. It's almost time to slaughter the pig and set it to smoking. The list rattled in her mind as the water swished and splashed. Collect enough wood for the winter, fix the shingles on the cabin, and straighten up the stovepipe so it doesn't fill the cabin with smoke. Every chore was a necessity. Her thoughts quickly turned to the possibility of the perils of the land. There's no way to foretell what slip might spell disaster through the long, cold months. Every year, she considered leaving and returning to her family's land. It's impossible with everything that has happened here, the history. Some things you just daren't leave behind. A rustling behind her made her pause, pull the sheet, and strain to hear above the tumbling river water. She put her hand to her brow as if to rest, her revolver tucked out of sight in the back of her waistband, easy to hide and more maneuverable than the shotgun. She was an excellent shot, and her visitor was close enough to hit with certain accuracy. Another footfall in the dried fallen leaves. Lorena's heartbeat quickened, like intense rain on a tin roof. She held her breath, measuring her pulse and waiting its return to a normal rhythm. Reaching behind her, pretending to scratch her back, she carefully lifted the tail of her jacket, fingers curling around the cold holster and pulling it free. Just come one step closer. She cocked the hammer. There was a faint but familiar sigh behind her, and Lorena's breath rushed out. A cloud of condensed warmth filled the air. She let the gun rest on her knee a moment, waiting for her hand to stop shaking. That was close, too close. Shouldn't go sneaking up on folks. She snapped without turning around, fear making her words harder than she intended. She uncocked the revolver with both hands, tucked it back into the waistband of her skirt, and returned to her washing. Her ears were keen to the sound of more faint breathing noises and the gurgle of a blocked nose. You catch a cold? A whiff of acrid air passed by Lorena, and she wrinkled her nose when a minor figure settled on a rock beside her, pulling her knees to her chest. White blonde hair fell around the little girl's shoulder, her bare toes curling around the edge of the rock, dangling too close to the chilly water. Lorena stopped scrubbing and tutted. Now, what did I tell you? You've got to wear stockings and boots from now till spring. No wonder you've got a chill. Young Fia shook her head. Don't like 'em. Lorena had found Fia almost a year ago. The child had emerged from the trees as cautious and as frightened deer, pale as snow, with lashes frosty white, wearing little more than a shift and a bearskin, though where she'd found the skin, Lorena wasn't sure. The smell of fresh bread and roasted rabbit had coaxed her into the open, and Lorena had led her back to the cabin and charmed her with returning by the blaze of the warm fires at night. Lorena had never been sure how long she'd stay, but she hadn't vanished back into the wilderness just yet. I know you don't, Lorena finally replied. Fia screwed up her face in a disgruntled look. They rub me wrong. You'll get used to them, I swear, and it's better than frostbite or losing a toe, right? Fia shrugged and used her arm to wipe fresh snot from her upper lip. Lorena arched her back, flexing in a vain attempt to make the pain subside. Right. Well, I'm done. You gonna give me a hand? The girl nodded and was up on her feet before Lorena struggled to stand, pushing herself off the rocks. Between them, they twisted and wrung out the sheet before carrying it back to the cabin. Fia was slight as a fairy and pale as milk, but she was a lot stronger than she appeared, her little legs spry as she jumped up on a tree stump. Together they spread the sheet over a thicket of raspberry bushes to dry. In a paddock near the cabin, her 3 goats pressed their noses through the fence. Fia brushed each nose as she had been taught. It tugged at Lorena's heart. The girl moved as quietly and carefully as a ghost. Lorena stroked Fia's hair, combing it with her fingers away from her face and eyes. Let's get you cleaned up and fix us some supper, eh? When Fia first appeared in the woods, she'd run every time Lorena went near her. Now they had an understanding. Fia even let Lorena put an arm around her shoulder in a comfort sometimes, especially when Fia had a bad dream. It provided Lorena with a pleasant feeling, wrapping herself around the little shoulders, pulling her close and easing her worry, if only for a few moments. Fia tolerated baths, though she still refused to wash herself. There'd been a lot of kicking and screaming at first, but finally she'd sit still, at least. A chirp from the tree line, and Fia was smiling. Monster! The plump creature scurried toward them, its face lifted to Fia, teeth bared in welcome, not malice. The raccoon continued to chitter, circling them, its large ears twisting and tail curling. Lorena crossed her arms. I guess he wants to come in and get warm, too. The little girl was bent over the animal, rubbing the back of his bald head. It's cold out here for an animal without a fur coat. Monster had accompanied Fia out of the woods that day, and it had taken Lorena a while to realize the black and pink thing with the huge ears and sharp teeth wasn't truly a monster, but an amazingly friendly, hairless raccoon. Its situation was likely caused by mange, not too dissimilar to the state of the wild child living in the woods. Just for a little while, though. He sleeps in the shed, you hear? The creature fussed around Fia's feet, weaving in and out of her ankles as they walked to the cabin. Come on, you two, supper, Lorena said through a laugh, leading Fia inside. Monster says he'd like raw egg for supper. The raccoon chittered in response. The chuckle escaped Lorena's lips this time as they shed their furs. Oh, is that right? Yes, and me too. Lorena rubbed her hands together over the warmth of the fire. I'm afraid it's rabbit stew for you, my girl. Fia pouted momentarily before being distracted by a plump spider hanging from its web by the door. Is my time up?
Yep, that's time. Thank
Perfect.
you.
Thank you.
I have a particular fondness for raccoons, so that's a fun reading for me. Thank you
My
very,
sister
very
does
much.
too. There's also fainting goats in it too, so
Cool.
it's a fun story.
Thank you, everybody. Lisa Jakowski, hold up your book one more time. Spooky Ookie Dance Party. Check that one out. And A Lumberjack for Lorena from Catherine LeBlanc. Go check those out, you guys. We have some really astounding authors, and the whole reason I do this is to toot their horn for them. So please go check them out. Okay, time to move on to the night's round of silliness. As I do every night, I'm going to be recapping our story for you again. At the Ghost Bar inside the Whitney Manor and historic Detroit estate, a world-famous psychic medium has come for an exclusive invitation-only seance. With so many curious about spiritualism around the world, this event promises to connect the living and the spirit worlds, opening doors to mysteries that transcend time and space. But when the seance spirals into a chilling rendezvous with a vengeful spirit and a shocking murder, it falls upon those in attendance to unravel the truths hidden in the darkest depths of the past. A spirit is summoned, vowing revenge on their killer. One of the guests becomes hysterical, claiming the spirit is there for them. Suddenly, the lights start flickering and the wind pushes the windows open, extinguishing the candles around the room. The room and everyone in it are thrust into darkness. When the light returns, that same hysterical guest is lying on the floor, dead. Who killed them? Why? Was it the furious spirit or something far more earthly? This is your quest. Our cast tonight, the medium is played by the great Christopher Gare. Christopher's assistant is Donna Newman. Our author at the table tonight is Amy Kelso. The socialite is Dawn Menge. The spouse is Jules Nelson. She is not in the room this evening. The fan is Marianne Wieland. The aloof guest is Gary Floyd. The maitre d' is Melinda Falgo. And I am your storyteller. Now, when we last left, we had quite a few questions lurking in the air. Tonight, you will be invited to interrogate again the cast members sitting at our table and each other, because you never know who might know something that maybe you missed. So this is the time when everybody gets to turn on their microphones, and I'm finding that this little thing at the bottom of your screen that says raise hand is really super helpful for me. I didn't think it would be, and now I'm finding that technology is sometimes becoming friendly. So if you want to raise your hand with the little button, Amy, can you just give us a real quick tutorial, real quick, on how we can find that?
I don't know. I have it set up so it'll do it automatically. If I hold my
Okay.
hand up long enough, it pops up.
Oh,
But
awesome. Look at that. It does. That's so cool.
yeah,
What does it do?
Right. Awesome.
But-
Sometimes it
How-
does, sometimes it doesn't.
I
Okay.
think
does it
you
do
have
that?
to go under reactions, recognize hand
And-
gestures, and
There
then
you
it'll
go.
do it for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. All right.
Yeah, I see it.
All right. So tonight, does anyone who is not a cast member have a question for any one of our cast? Anyone who is not a cast member? You've been lurking in the shadows. Mackenzie, you've got to have at least one question out there.
She doesn't have any questions because she knows it all because she did it.
Yeah.
We've determined she's the murderer.
Okay. Mandy, Joe, do you have any questions lurking out there?
Just an observation.
Okay.
Richard was killed. Well, unless someone poked him with a stick and he finally woke up.
Yeah, that hasn't happened yet.
Right. And Jules, well, when you read the intro, you said that Nora was coming for revenge on her killer. Well, if she killed Richard, then
Said there was a spirit coming for revenge for her killer. I didn't name any names.
well, I was
That's for you guys to infer and figure out.
I was
I'm
just
just
thinking that
I'm
Jules
just a
didn't-
lowly journalist. I have to uncover the facts before I can actually put it in print.
I was just figuring that Jules must not have actually hit Nora then. She just quieted her with her gunshot.
Well, I would be quieted if somebody aimed a gunshot in my direction. I would be real
Necessarily
quiet.
have to hit her.
Yeah.
I mean,
Be real.
just my thoughts.
Thank you, Christopher. I appreciate your vote of confidence. Jennifer Rains, go ahead.
My question is for Melinda. This is if my memory's right. The only people who were back at the Whitney that evening were you, a maid. Richard came back. Jules came back. And then they left. And if Jules, in fact, did miss with the gunshot, that really leaves you and the maid. Did you go out to the well to see what was happening after Jules and Richard left?
I went out to the well when Richard came to me hysterical, claiming that he had killed Nora and pushed her into the well, sending her to her certain impending doom. So that was the only time I went out to the well. But don't forget, we had 2 more visitors to the Whitney that evening. Troy and Marianne both came to the Whitney as well, searching for Nora.
And we have not established a timeline. So keep that in line as well.
Did you, just a supplementary, did you hear a gunshot?
No, I may have heard a cracked pop, but I just assumed it was from the fireplace.
As I understand from Chuck Gatica over at Channel 4, there was also a thunderstorm rolling through the area that night as well. So the noise you heard could have been from thunder.
Very well could have been.
Gary Floyd, go ahead.
I have a question for Melinda. When you went out to the well and you looked down the well, was there anything in the well?
It was so dark in the well that even the beam of my flashlight did not expose the bottom of the well, but there was no noise, no shuffling, nothing to indicate that there was anything or anyone for that matter down in the well. And I shone it along the edges as far as it would reach, but nothing.
Okay. Donna Newman, go ahead.
Do we know how deep the well is?
The well, I don't know how deep the well at the Whitney is, but I do know that I just had an appraisal done on the well for my cabin up north, and that goes on down 145 feet.
Thank you.
I haven't gone down the well at the Whitney to measure it, and I haven't checked any of the landscaping
It's just
records.
145 feet. I don't see how somebody could get out of the well on their own. So who helped them get out? If the
Good
body's not
question.
there.
That's a really good question. If there's no body, somebody had to help them out. Mark McCraw, go ahead.
I have a question for Donna. Donna, are you personally have a relationship with Christopher, the great Christopher? Not professionally, but personally.
Oh,
No, my only relationship with the great Christopher is, as I said many times, he has saved my life, and I am just completely loyal to him because of that. Nothing
Okay.
else. It is completely professional.
Completely professional.
Christopher, would you like to A, respond to that, and then B, ask your question?
I don't know where to start with that one. No.
Okay, so no is the answer to the question, and
That was the answer to the
incredulous,
question.
and incredulous no.
Oh.
And
Thank you
what
for
is
putting
your-
that thought into my head.
And what is your question?
Madam Storyteller, it
Yes.
occurred to me earlier when there was a night that we were all asked if any of us had blood spatter on our clothing or anything else. The only person who did not have an opportunity, I believe, that evening to answer was you. Did you have any blood spatter on you?
You know, I feel a little embarrassed to mention this, but I did find there was a small pool of blood beneath my sneakers. I did not notice a trail of blood, but I did notice that there was a small pool of blood when I walked close to the body, and I think I may have stepped in it. But I didn't see any other blood than that. Thank you, Mackenzie. Okay. Amy Kelso, go ahead.
Okay, for Mackenzie, she asked, Miss Storyteller, is there any chance that you or anyone else might have been able to throw some clothes out the window and return to your spots before the lights came back?
I don't think there was time for that. I mean, I know there wasn't time for that for me because there was just mayhem in the room when the lights finally did come back on. And the other thing is, this is 3 stories high, overlooking downtown Detroit, which we now know is a slightly different topography. At the front of the building, we know the forest is on the back, but at the front of the building, there is a very busy city street. And my guess is that if anything was thrown out the window, there would have been some kind of traffic altercation to alert us of that. Just my thought. Anything gets thrown out into a city street, you know, cars swerve, things collide. Okay, Don Menge, go ahead. You have to turn your microphone on. Go.
I have a question for the great Christopher. So since Donna appears to have natural abilities to see ghosts and feel their presence, and this is your seance, is your talents, are they natural or did you get training for them? Because they seem to be kind of falling to the wayside.
My talents appeared over time. Often I need a great deal of concentration, and there are times when there is so much activity in a room, or there is so much else going on, that it is impossible to concentrate to fully get back into what I need to in my stream of thought and consciousness to be able to see things. I couldn't possibly do it right now because of everything in this room that's going on. I need to be able to concentrate. I need the quiet. I need the peace. I need the ambience. These powers developed over time. It was not all at once. It was just over the years that I learned that I had these abilities.
Awesome. Okay, Gary Floyd, go ahead.
I had a question and then a follow-up. The question is to Melinda. You didn't have any blood splattering on you.
Not that I saw.
Okay, so Diane had it on one side and you didn't. I wonder if that means that that person was assaulted from away from where the body towards Diana.
I suppose it's very possible.
Okay. Who else? Anyone else have questions? Don, did you have another question or is your hand still raised? Okay. Miranda, go ahead.
Miss Storyteller,
Yes.
you know, we know from other historical buildings that there's all kinds of secret doors and hallways and in these old buildings. Is there any possibility that there could have been a secret hallway or underground walkway between the Whitney and the well that would have led to a door into the well by chance?
You know, that's a really interesting idea, and I came up with the same thought. I have put in a what's it called? Public records request, Freedom of Information Act, to try to get those initial building plans from the city, and I'm waiting to get those records back from them. Should be in the next couple of days, I'm guessing.
Can I answer that for you?
Sure, you've lived here a good
I
portion of
lived
your
here. I
life.
grew up here. I grew up here.
That's the author, you guys. The author just said.
Hey,
I
I corrected myself. That's why
That's
I
what
write,
Amazon
and then I
Prime's
edit.
paying
Yes.
for.
I lived here. I grew up here. Trust me, between Richard and Nora and myself, we explored every secret spot and cranny. There was not any secret passageway from the Whitney to the well that we ever discovered. Not saying there isn't one, but we definitely looked everywhere. So
Awesome. Okay. Seeing as how you grew up here, I'm gonna take your word for it.
Okay.
And we can ask Jules when she comes back because she grew up in the area as well. She may know something. We can ask her when she comes back into the room as well. Donna Newman, go ahead.
My question is for Marianne. Marianne, your sister we're now finding out has died or has been killed. My question is, did you know that she was in love with Richard and she was being forced into this marriage for Troy? You say that you guys were close.
Richard hung around Nora a lot. Nora was very fascinated with him, infatuated. It wasn't love. She was in love with Troy, and she was going to marry Troy. Richard was not good enough for our family. I would not have it. I would not have had him marry my little sister.
So
So there.
I'm gonna check your recollection, and you may. I'm giving you your feelings. You're allowed to feel whatever you feel, but from my research, from the people I interviewed, there was an assumption that your parents kind of forced that relationship and said, Noria, you gotta marry Troy. So,
well, that's true. But Nora did love Richard. She did. She was a little antsy about getting married, but I know she loved Troy too. Troy was the best. He was the very best for her. I can't say enough good about Troy. But Richard, no, he was not worthy to be in our family. I'm sorry.
Valid. We all have our own opinions on the matter, and I will definitely make note in my news article that you don't necessarily share the same views as other people. Christopher, go ahead. The great Christopher. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
It just occurs to me that we might be missing something. I know we've touched on this prior, but the seating chart, we have never established who created the seating chart. So I would like to ask a direct question to everyone, including you, Miss Storyteller. If you, each person, created the seating chart.
Okay. This is going to be our last question of the evening. I will start with my answer. I didn't make the seating chart. I simply obtained it with other information through the normal course of my journalistic research. I received a copy of the seating chart, which I shared with all of you, from the maid at the Whitney. Melinda, can you answer the question? Where did the seating chart come from?
Well, since this investigation has ensued, I have interviewed each and every one of my staff members, being the due diligent maitre d' that I am. And in fact, one of the maids, a new hire as a matter of fact, did mention to me that she received an envelope with instructions on how to arrange the seating chart, as well as all of the hors d'oeuvres and appetizers that were to be served. And this absolutely rankles me that a member of my staff would do such a thing, but she accepted a $200 enclosure that was with the instructions. She was told that I was not to be burdened with such trivial information. I was to concentrate on serving the great Christopher, since he was so important and was here to do such an important job.
So the maid was paid off. Okay, Donna, what do you know about the seating chart?
Well, I have to say that I'm kind of a failure on this because it is supposed to be my job to do the seating chart and set up the table for the great Christopher. But when I went to a maid, this maid came up to me. I asked her for some water because, you know, during a seance, the great Christopher gets dehydrated, so he needed a pitcher of water. I asked for a pitcher of water. I asked her other things. I asked her for the seating chart or the list of guests so that I could do the seating chart. And she said it was already done. Since it was already done, I decided that I could take 5 minutes for myself and I didn't have to do it.
Wonderful. Gary Floyd, Nora Ainsworth, as we know you now. Do you know anything about the seating chart?
I did not make it up or anything. I just felt compelled to sit next to the great Christopher. I wanted to like feed off his energy, and I figured that we were both working towards the same goal, to find out who had killed our dear Nora. And I know that I just looked across and I got kind of a really cold feeling looking at Donna. And the only thing I can say is that maybe my psychotic sister is onto something, because she doesn't seem to like her either.
Oh, Jules isn't here, so we'll have to ask her that question when she comes back. Mary Ann, what do you know about the seating chart for tonight's seance?
Well, I certainly didn't make it up. But when I arrived at the Whitney tonight, I did ask the staff to check to see where I would be sitting in the room with the seance, because it was very, very important to me that I have a direct line of vision into the beautiful eyes of the Great One. Well, the maid, old Bat, came back to me and she said I had a seat directly across the table from the Great One. I would have a direct line of vision into his eyes and he would be gazing into me, my eyes. He would not be able to ignore me at this seance. And that was very important. And I needed to look in his beautiful face.
But it turned out you were not seated across from him. What happened there?
No, I went out to sample the appetizers. And when we went back into the room, my name was across on the other side of the table. I was really, really upset. I would not be able to look into the eyes of the Great One. I was seated 2 seats from him. And to add insult to injury, I was seated next to the hired help, Donna Newman. I was so angry.
I understand how that could make you feel. That must have been a terrible insult.
I was very insulted and I was so hurt. I was so hurt, I was ready right at that moment to just pull my sponsorship of the whole event and just walk away without that endowment that I had promised. And that is all I have to say about that.
Okay. Amy Calso, what do you know about the seating chart?
Me? Well, I mean, I have obviously, you know, because I do live here at the Whitney, I've hosted lots of events, but I have never been involved in planning the details, such silly things as where people sit. I really don't care where they sit. My focus as an author is always on the people. I'm watching how they interact, what they say, what they do. I don't care where they sit or what they eat, or even if they just have peanuts, except for certain people who just complain that they're so hungry all the time. Other than that, I don't care. So I had nothing, you know, that's all I have to say about the seating chart.
Don Menge, what do you have to say about the seating chart?
Well, I'm the one who arranged all of this, but I did not have anything to do with it. I left let it with the staff and they did it. But Marion did tell me that she bribed the maid with $200 to sit across. So my question sit across from the great one. So my question is, did the great one know that she had bribed the maid to sit across and stare at him? Did this make him uncomfortable?
That's a really great question. Christopher, oh, wonderful and insightful Swami that you are. Can you please tell us what you know about the seating chart?
I know two things. One, karma's going to get you for this tonight. Two, I am far too focused on meditation and reserving my energy to worry about such drivel. That's why I hired Donna to deal with the little people. But I wasn't exactly jumping up and down in any dimension about sitting anywhere near Marianne. She's been making her presence known to me for months, and while I appreciate my fans and their donations, she can sometimes push the spirits out of the room with her enthusiasm and name calling, and that can make my job extra difficult. I was paid a lot of money tonight, and I didn't want to blow it simply because of an overzealous distraction. I was relieved when I discovered I would be seated on the other side of the table, but a little unnerved she would be staring at me all night. She makes these little mewing noises and uses her tongue like a kitten lapping a bowl of milk. It's kind of creepy.
So now
I think you've broken Marianne's heart.
Marianne, you'll have a great deal of time for rebuttal tomorrow. Thank you all for your interest in our mystery tonight, and I'm sure as tomorrow is our 18th night of this conundrum, we will discover more answers. So make sure that you do indeed come back tomorrow to interrogate our suspects, cast members, and each other, because here's the thing. Some of us, just like witnesses to a murder on the street, we will notice things other people may not notice. So remember, your interrogations do not necessarily need to be restricted to the cast only. Watch those replays to learn things you may have missed. Okay. Wax dripping time, everybody. It's time to show you the standings of our top 5 candle burners. Here we are. Christopher Gare at 141, Amy Calso at 134, Andrew Allen Smith at 114, Deborah Reed at 111, Jules Nelson at 110. And the peasants rejoice. Okay, here we go. Talismans from the spirits. It's time once again to give away books. We're going to be giving away one copy each of the books that were read tonight. Catherine LeBlanc's book. There it is. A Lumberjack for Lorena. And Spooky Ookie Dance Party from Lisa Jakowski. Can you hold that up for us one more time, pretty please? Okay. So if your name comes up on the spinning wheel of happiness, and you win a book. Please be sure to send me your mailing address to me at Diana at, where am I? Oh yeah, pagespromotions.com. Trying to do way too many things at once. If you send me your mailing address, we will absolutely make sure that that book gets mailed to you by March 5th. And I'll have tracking number in case books get lost, and so that I can track them down and find them. All right, here we go. We are going to give away Lisa's book first. I'm going to pull up my handy dandy spinning wheel of joy. Okay, can everybody see the spinning wheel of joy? Yay! Okay, here we go. First book is Lisa's book. Congratulations, Jennifer Raines. Woo! What a book. Yay. Okay, here we go. Second spinny wheel for Kathleen LeBranc's book. Congratulations, Don. You won a book. Yay. See? It's fun to show up because you never know what's going to happen on any given night. I never know what's going to happen on any given night. Okay, one more thing that I want to make sure everybody is reminded of, because we're getting close, you guys. Not too many more days, and we will be at the big reveal party. Make sure you go in and register for that now. Put it on your calendar so that you don't forget, because we're giving away prizes I haven't even told you about yet, because, you know, I have to keep some things a secret. And we're also doing the hat extravaganza party. So make sure you bring your hats, and you could win a prize just for having an extravagant hat. So we are pretty close to time. I would like very much to hear from our cast. If you have any, what is one thing that you didn't learn tonight that you would like answered? We're going to just ask the cast members these questions. Donna Newman, go.
I still want to know how the body got out of the well.
Okay. Lassie doesn't live here anymore. We don't know. Timmy fell in the well. We can't get him out. Amy Kelso, what is one thing you would like to know?
Well, I was going to say that, but also a follow-up question is, did the body get out of the well? I mean, if it's that far deep, maybe it's still there. We don't know.
Also a good question. Maybe when I get the survey report back from the city, I'll learn that. Gary Floyd, what's one question you'd like answered?
I would like to know if anybody was moving around the table when he was hitting the head.
Okay, we've asked that question already, but we can ask it again tomorrow. But that question was answered in the replays, so check those out. Melinda Falgo, do you have a question that you would like answered?
Yes. Who called me Harpy first?
I think that was Marianne.
That was Marianne. That was Marianne.
That is incorrect. It was old Harpy.
Yeah, authors, we got to be specific. Okay, Marianne, do you have one question you'd like answered?
Yes, I do, young lady. What were you doing out of your seat to get blood on your shoes?
Okay, maybe we can answer that question tomorrow. Don Menge, what question would you like answered?
The maid, has she been present during all this in questions?
That is
a good question.
Very interesting question.
We don't know who the maid is.
We don't know who the maid is. We
Gary.
She occupies my body.
In there.
There's a lot of stopovers.
Christopher Garrett, do you have a question you'd like answered?
I still want to know who created the seating chart, but I'm wondering now if maybe one of the spirits was working through Gary and they did it.
Intriguing idea. It is getting crowded in there, Gary.
I'm waiting. I'm gonna be charging $200 for people coming in.
Okay. Real quick, Jennifer Rains, what question would you like answered?
Oh, is Mandy Joe the maid?
I like that. Mandy Joe, you don't have to answer right now. Do you have a question?
I don't have a question, but you never know.
You never know. Diana Duell, do you have a question that you'd like answered? No. Okay, Miranda, what about you?
I'd like to know what exactly is the connection between Nora's death and Richard's death. I'm still not clear on that.
I don't think a lot of us are.
Hmm.
Mark McCraw, what about you?
That's so funny. I thought the same thing, Jennifer, about Mandy being the maid. I guess we think alike.
Did she clean up? They clean up the blood spatter.
She's a pretty efficient human being. You never know. Jen Rinaldi, what about you?
I'm still wondering about the balls. Sorry, mine's in the gutter.
A lot of people wonder about my crystal balls.
Don't put me and Ralph in the same room when he comes home. Lisa Jakowski, what about you?
I think I'm just excited to see who did it.
Me too.
So we'll see at the end.
Mackenzie, put your question in the chat, please, and Amy will read it. Deb McPeak, do you have a question?
Nope.
Okay. And did I get everybody? I think I got everybody. Amy, go ahead.
Okay, so Mackenzie's question is, what's your shirt size, Miss Storyteller, in case we mysteriously find some clothes that are covered in blood?
I have nothing to say about that.
You don't know your shirt size?
Varies depending on how much cheese fondue I've had in the last month.
Lots of fondue, medium, large. I don't know.
It's a medium on good days and it's a large on bad days. How's that?
Lots of fondue, large. Okay, gotcha.
Okay. All right. Shots across the bow, Gary Floyd.
It's a lot of fun.
I'm glad you're
I'm having a good time.
Good. I'm glad. Donna Newman, shots across the bow.
I'm just finally glad that Marianne gave me my own nickname. She's been calling everybody names, and now I'm the hired help.
There you go.
I finally fit in.
Better than a dirty bird, I suppose.
Terms of endearment are always a lovely thing. Don Menge, shots across the bow.
I do appreciate her telling me how much I was a better choice for Nora. I really appreciate that because she disappeared we didn't even get to get married.
So if you ever want an ego boost, contact Marianne.
Okay.
She'll help. Amy Kelso, shots across the bow.
Nope, nothing at this point.
Okay. It's been a night, right? Melinda Falgo, shots across the bow.
Well, if you haven't already figured out, you can tell anybody and everybody you know that this event is so worth it each and every year, that I have managed to make time for it from 2 other countries, multiple other states, just because you guys, both audience and authors included, and you, Diana, of course, make it so worthwhile. So again, thanks.
You are super kind. I'm so glad you're a part of it every year. It's goofy to play with you. So thanks for that. Christopher Gare, shots across the bow.
You know, when your computer makes that little noise and says you've encountered a fatal error and it's going to shut down, it needs to have a picture of Marianne's face when I did my little diatribe tonight, right up there with that noise.
So Marianne's face on the blue screen of death is what
Yes.
what that is.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody, for playing our game. I hope to see you all back in the room again tomorrow night. Melinda, travel safe. We want to make sure you're here with us for a long time to come. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Bye, everybody.